Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. This is your host, Emmett Muckles. You can find the podcast on emmettmuckles.com. You can even go to The Billionaire Lifestyle, LLC. Thank you, LegalZoom. Today, my guest is Miyoko. Oh, I messed it up, dude.
That's okay, man.
Hold on.
We'll have fun with this. No problem.
That's the power of editing, because I'm going to edit that right out. Hold on. Let me get my junk together. My guest today is Miyoko Taylor, coming to us from Philadelphia. This young man has a great message. New Jersey now. Why was I thinking Philly? You see how you gonna treat me like? He's coming from New Jersey, and he has a great deal of information, sorely in tune with the billionaire lifestyle. It is not about money. It is about that thing that beats in your chest, that derives that passion to find out where you want to be in this life and where you want to experience it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How you doing, Mr. Taylor?
I am amazing. How about yourself?
I'm doing fabulous. I want to start out at the beginning, because a lot of times people get right into the guts of things and, the subject matter. But what is important to me, and what is important to a lot of people, when you speak to someone, they don't want to just know your knowledge. They want to know where you come from. They want to know how you got there. Mm-hmm. What's your backstory?
Absolutely. Well, pretty much what we're going to start off at is I've always knew that I wanted to help people. I wanted to contribute in that particular way. So when I graduated high school, I said I wanted to go into a profession where I can have my own business, I can help people, and I can dress up. So I saw an ad in the paper, and it said, help a lot of people, dress up, have your own business. And it was in the insurance industry.
That's true.
So I got into that particular industry. I did fairly well, but not as well as I'd like, because my heart really wasn't in it. So I come from a background where my brothers and sisters, they're either nurses, engineers, accountants. So they have pretty well-versed backgrounds in educations and other professions that are common to everyone. I was the oddball. I was the entrepreneur mind, and growing up, entrepreneurship was not as big as it is now. This generation now has embraced entrepreneurship. So what I did is I fell on some hard financial times, and I was told to get a job, get something steady, work the 9 to 5, and had good benefits, and pretty much most of the average Americans today. So, but for me, I knew that was not what I really wanted to do. And to make a long story short, I stayed in that particular position for 3 to 4 years. And I lost myself, man. Along the way, I lost track of my goals, my vision. And I was in a state to where I was in a relationship for 7 years. A relationship that was not really serving either of us well, but we were just too scared to part ways. We became dependent on each other's misery, as I like to say. And I was at a job that I hated. Literally, when I woke up in the morning, I hated the next step of going to that job.
That's common.
It was taking so much out of me, man. And I was so depressed to the point where I've always been a slim guy. Thank God I'm slim now. But in that particular period of my life, I gained over 75 pounds.
Ooh.
And I was incredibly overweight, man. And one day, I just got up and I looked at myself in the mirror, not really dressed, and I burst into tears. And one of the things I said to myself is, how did we get here? I couldn't even recognize who I was. And I said, okay, well, we have one of two choices we can make here. We can continue the life that you're living now and potentially have all these type of health problems, be in a miserable relationship, work at a job that you hate, and completely just deteriorate mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. I mean, the whole nine, you name it. Or you can make a decision, one of the scariest decisions that you've made in your life thus far, and just turn your back on everything. And that's what I did. And what happened at that time is, loved ones, friends, family, parents, relatives were like, "Oh my God, are you crazy? You're going to leave this particular job. You're going to leave this situation. What are you going to fall? What are you going to lean back on?" I don't know. Like, I literally didn't know. And I prayed about it. And I just made the decision to do it. And what I found is I started to make progress, a little bit of progress after the heart palpitations and the sweaty palms and the headaches from this, from getting out of your comfort zone. After that stuff subsided, I realized, hey, through all the smoke, I actually made some progress. So that was the beginning for me, man, where I really made that decision. I said, you know what, let's make another decision and see what happens. It's kind of like you have a door and you don't know what's behind the door, so you're a little fearful. But then you start to crack it open and nothing's happening. Then you start to crack it open again. So that's how my life started to develop. And I started to progress in ways where it was just like, man, maybe the key here is to really get out of your comfort zone to start making steps. So what I did is I dedicated myself to really personal development. So I read a bunch of books. I think that year I probably read over 75 books in a year. And I just digested a lot of different audio CDs, just a lot of different things to get my hands on with positive mindsets, just really trying to restructure my entire thought process when it came to success and achievement, personal development in every way, so to speak. And what happened is I got to the point where I said, you know what? I've always loved helping people. I've always loved seeing the process of the development when someone is dealing with a particular issue, and I can show them how to, go from that issue and better enhance their quality of life. And I said, you know what? How do I do this for the rest of my life? And I really didn't have the answer then. So, I just continued on, getting out of my comfort zone, doing some different things. Until one day, literally just one day, I said, you know what? I'm never going to be satisfied unless I just step out and just do this wholeheartedly.
So what was your first...
When I did...
What was your first...
Go ahead.
What was your first step? That is the quintessential roadblock that most people encounter, is literally the first step, because you see the goal, but it's so far away from you, you don't know which direction to step first.
Here's the first step to me. I hit rock bottom in my life. Everybody has a rock bottom. Some other people's rock bottom may be more severe, but everybody has a rock bottom. Everybody hits a point in their life where it's just like, oh my God. If they're not doing what they're passionate about, I should say that. And it's just like, oh my God, things are just horrible right now. Everything that I thought of that could happen has happened. So the only direction you can go, the only logical step, is to make that first step into the opposite direction, because you're already in the pit. Like, you're already in a state of being where everything has gone wrong for you. So it's just like, what is the worst that's going to happen if you get out of your comfort zone? What can be worse than what you're already doing? And that's what kind of pushed me to make my first step, because I had saw everything in my life, and it's just like everything that that I'm imagining has gone wrong. So me getting out of this comfort zone, taking this first step, and finally doing something that I was passionate about doing, was the worst thing that could happen. So I started to weigh that. Okay, the worst thing that can happen is you don't succeed. You're already in a bad place. So if that's the worst thing that can happen, okay. Yeah. And at that particular point in my life, I had saw my worst. It was, and I emphasized that particular point in my life, because we always go through things in life. But at that point in my life, that was my worst. So I looked back and said, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I'd be right in the same place that I ended up. Okay, all right, well, I'm dealing with that. I'm managing that right now. So what is the best thing that can happen if I actually make some progress? So that was the first step for me, to really, really understand that I had really nothing to go back to and everything to gain. That nothing was that same state of misery, depression, anxiety, failing health, low self-esteem, that was the nothing that I had to go back to. And it was either that or amazing possibilities on the other side. And I just couldn't live with the fact anymore that there is so much potential out there and a possibility for me to completely change my life and become this completely different person that was in me already, who's just caged up to really explore that possibility. And it's just like, okay, everything else is screwed up. To be quite honest, everything else is screwed up. So I might as well take this chance.
So what was the chance
I've ever made?
What was that chance? What was the step? What was the picture you said?
The steps that I made is everything that I could, and I emphasize everything that was feasible to do at the time, because I'm not telling somebody that's working and supporting 3 kids and a wife to just quit your job. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But everything that I could do at that time that I could immediately let go, I did. That's what I did. I was in a position where I could actually just leave my place of employment at the time. So I did. So everything that was causing me the stress and the situations in my life that were really damaging, I just stopped. And I just took that chance. That's the type of person that I am, though. So I just took that chance, and I just went for it. That was the step for me. So I looked at everything in my life that was not serving me in a positive way. That job wasn't serving me in a positive way. That relationship wasn't serving me in a positive way. The foods that I was eating, the depression, the not getting any rest, not taking care of myself, none of that stuff was serving me in any way. And it's a process. But I made steps to each one of those things when I made the decision.
Cool beans. So once you've gotten your picture together, you say, I'm leaving this behind. I'm shedding this skin. I'm becoming anew. Mm-hmm. What was the time frame? What was the time frame where you said, okay, I'm starting to see the progress in myself, and I'm starting to see the fruits of my labor begin to manifest in my life?
Okay. It wasn't until I started to really read. I mean, of course, reconnect with my faith, because I'm a very, spiritual person. But not only just that, it's when I started to read. When I really started to read personal development, I realized that my entire mindset was wrong, that I was creating the type of environment that I was so loathing to be in. I created that environment. My decisions, whether it was influenced by other people, I was responsible. So back to your question, what was the step or what was the big breakthrough for me? When I realized that I was responsible for every outcome in my life. Every single outcome. Nobody else, parents, job, girlfriend, circumstance, none of that stuff was responsible. Miyoko was responsible. And it was very hurtful, but at the same time, it was a weight off of my shoulders, too. Because if I was responsible for this outcome, I could change it if I changed myself. My behaviors, my thought patterns, my process, my outlook, my actions. So if I change all those things, my circumstance is going to change.
Good.
I mean, it just has to.
And, that is so true that, sometimes we are just so afraid because systemically, everything tells us to stay in your place, find your lane, and it's not necessarily the lane that you choose; it's the lane that you fall into. Stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, we live life on accident. We live life by accident.
That's a good way to put it.
Most people live life by accident. Like, I accidentally got into this job, or, oh yeah, I just happened by chance to be here, and I've been here for 10 years. Like, you're just existing. You're living life by accident and not by design. And what I mean is you haven't really set out a plan for your life. So you're just coasting. You're just going through the motions.
That is so poignant in today's life, because any and everybody that you come in contact with, they can say that, oh yeah, because of my friend, I got this job because of so-and-so. Mm-hmm. And that's not a bad thing, because, people introduce new things into your life and it helps you to grow. That's one of the things that I'm always saying, in this culture where we are stuck with digital media and digital relationships, it's getting less and less where people are having those relationships. But you seem to have found a path, and you are following that path. So your involvement with, the personal development, did you go to Toastmasters? Were you part of NSA? What was the ranks that you said, hey, I have to get out here. I have to learn some things, because not everything is learned through books. Sometimes you need some kind of mentoring from other individuals.
Experience. Oh, yes. So with that being said, just for our listeners, if you don't have a physical mentor, somebody that you read about and you follow on a blog could be a mentor. Sometimes reaching out to an author of the book that you're reading can be a mentor. So, and in my sense, I knew I had to learn the dynamics of why I was going through what I was going through. So I knew that if I can teach people through my experiences and all these various stages of my life that I've gone through, then I'd be equipped with knowledge to help somebody else. Because what I found missing in a lot of these motivational books, inspirational books, is they give you the inspiration and the motivation, but what happens when I go home? My reality is not, I don't pull off in a Rolls Royce. I don't pull off in a Mercedes or go drive to a nice home. My reality is going back to my environment, which may not be a very good environment for me. So it takes more than motivation or inspiration. Give me some strategy, give me some tools that I can actually implement to go along with the motivation and the inspiration, because that's what's going to make the difference. Am I motivated every day? No, I'm not. Some days stink, man. I have to be honest. Some days are tough. Some days are challenging. I don't care what level of success that you reach. Every day is not going to be rose petals. It's just not. There's going to be adversity. That's just the way life is set up. So what makes me different from a lot of personal development people is I'm a straight shooter. I'm not just going to give you motivational and inspirational and action steps to create your best life. All that stuff is very good, but at the same time, I'm going to tell you, you know what? I have days just like you're having. I have periods in my life just like you're having. We are human beings. I am not impervious to crying or emotions or dealing with adversity in my life, and people need that. People need to be engaged, and they need to know that you are a real person. Yes, you may have experiences that can help them and you've overcome some situations, but at the end of the day, I go through some of the same things that my clients and that my listeners and everyone else in the world goes through. That's what's missing in personal development.
You mean the personal and personal development?
Yes, exactly. People are missing that personal part.
Yeah, I can attest to that. I can understand that emphatically, because particularly when you get to a certain level and you have clientele, one thing, if you get such a group that you cannot connect with them personally, and you want to help everybody, but some people some people you're going to help more than others because they need that direct inspiration from you, that guidance, and for them to actually get all of the value out of the relationship. So when you made that decision, so now your ball is rolling, you're moving forward. Tell me what your day is like, what your week, what your month is like moving forward, how you can help people, how you're reaching out, courses, things you're developing.
Okay, I just finished a book called Find Your Amazing, 5 Steps to Transforming Your Life. And it goes based on what you and I were just speaking about, how in a lot of the motivational, inspirational pieces, motivation and inspiration is there. Some of the action steps are there, but the daily activity as opposed to what you should be doing from a down-to-earth perspective is not there. So I created this book, and it goes along the lines of my coaching program as well. So I cover these particular 5 steps in this book. And these are 5 steps that I actually reevaluate with myself all the time. So I'll get to that in a minute. But a day for me is, it's amazing when you reach a certain level of success. You often think that things are going to be easier or you'll have more time. and yes, you have freedom to do things with your time, but with that becomes more responsibility. So I'm always thinking, how can I add more value to people? How can I add more value to others? So what my day looks like now is doing podcasts or doing shows just like this, or taking experiences from what I'm currently dealing with and how can I translate this into helping someone else. That's what my day looks like in my profession. I'm always thinking of how I can help somebody else. I'm always writing. I'm always taking notes, or mental notes, or doing something where, okay, this can actually help this person or that person. Because I know now I have enough experience to know that there's somebody out there that needs this, or that needs that, or needs the other thing. Yeah. I know that. So that's what a day's like for me.
I can tell. I can hear it in your voice that this is part of you. This is part of your passion. And that's one of the things that when I am communicating with people who are seeking something from me, that's what I say. You must find your passion. The thing that you would do all day for free, if you could, and survive, that is your passion, whatever it may be.
It's very well spoken. I couldn't have said it better.
And
very well spoken.
And for instance, so I started this podcast back in November, October, right after I got married. And I had taken some time off. And my wife said to me, she was like, you worked harder and longer on this podcast during this week that you were home than you've done ever since I've seen you, working for anybody else. I was like, dear, there was no time. I was like, when you called my name, you made time relative. Other than that, it did not exist. So because this is my passion to help people, and you have that passion to help people as well, and your thing is to get them to their level of success. So
you said an important thing right there. You said a very, very important thing. And in one of the chapters in the book, it says it's the real meaning of success. What is your version? What does success mean? Not the success that you see on the media, not the fancy cars, not the millions of dollars, not any of that superficial stuff that people see. Having some of those things is nice, yes. But if you base your whole life on chasing those things and those things define you, you become a very hollow person, because that is not what life is about. It's nowhere near what life is about. Success has to be your own personal version. And if your passion, your purpose, and your talents are not involved in those particular things, you're going to be miserable.
You know what one of my passions is? Not being in a geographical place for too long. I seriously have a travel bug, and my wife knows this. She will literally just book a ticket. It's like, you and I are getting on a plane, and I'm like, and I don't even ask what's there. She knows I have to leave because the earth is big.
That is awesome, man.
It is big, and I tell people, they're like, why are you just going over there? What's over there? I have no clue, but I'm going to find out when I get there. Now, I want to get back to this because I digressed a little bit. You got me excited. That's what happened. When you're dealing with people, what is the thing that just drives you that makes you giddy inside, that makes you well up inside when you see their progress, even if it's small? When that ant is eating that elephant and you see it take that first bite, what is that like for you?
You know what? It's a really indescribable feeling, because like I tell my clients, and like I tell people that contact me and send me, I'm the type of person, if you contact me on Instagram or Twitter, I respond back to you. It's not an automatic message or anything. It's me. I really take, really emphasis on that. And I'm the type of person where when you come to me with an issue and I've given you some action steps, and then you do it, and I can actually see the results, and I can actually see the development, and I can see the growth, it makes me feel so good, because I'm taking part in the development of somebody, and they're improving their life. Like, it is truly an indescribable feeling. I can't even describe it.
You
But
just described it.
It's the process. It's taking somebody from, okay, I'll give you an even better explanation. When I'm dealing with somebody that says that they didn't have low self-esteem or they're struggling with something in their life, I always revert back to how I used to feel. And I think as a coach, that really puts me on another level. It just flicks a switch, man, to me, where I'm like, okay, Miyoko, that's you. Do you remember how you used to feel? Do you remember how you used to cry? How you used to break out in hives because you were so stressed out? How you would cry and how you would pray looking for answers? Like, all these different things come to my mind when I'm dealing with somebody. So it just kicks me in overdrive to where it's all about that person. Like, I have to get down to the bottom of what is going on with this individual. How can I help them? What is their story? Where are they trying to go? How are we going to get there? What are they doing now? What are they not doing? What can we get them to do? What is going to be the version of success for them? What are their capabilities? Do they even know their capabilities? What are they passionate about? Do they even know what they're passionate about? What's their vision? These are all the things that we get down to the bottom of, and it's amazing when you start to see someone open up like, oh my God, that's what my passion is. This is what I want to do. And then it's just like, how did you do that? Like, you've only met as a coach, you have to have a very good listening skill. And you learn a lot about people when you just ask certain questions and you just shut up. And that's why I tell a lot of people, sometimes you just have to be quiet and listen. And people will tell you exactly what position they are in life. You may even catch what they're passionate about without them even knowing. I tell people sometimes the things that we take for granted may be that actual gift. Growing up, just use myself as an example because I always like to use myself. I was always giving people advice. I was always helping people, helping them take actions on certain things. And they would say, oh, my God, this comes so easy to you. I'm like, whatever, it's no big deal, it's okay. And they're like, it is a big deal. You're really good at this. If you have that particular thing in your life, looking back, odds are that may be something that's just a gift. That's a talent that you had, that you were born with. And people take that for granted. Sometimes we take things that we do very easily because it's second nature to us for granted. And that's the very thing that will change our life.
Yeah. So when you began this journey, there's a lot of things involved. And there's a lot of things that they don't teach us in school. And there's a lot of things that our parents just don't know. They don't, for instance, I have the Billionaire Lifestyle LLC. It's a company. A lot of people don't know about things like that. They don't know that, there's a different entity that you have to associate with yourself. There's a branding that you have to associate with yourself. There's specific training because how you speak to people, the people that it's very comfortable, but you may have to get vocal training. You may have to go to Toastmasters. You may have to go to, join the National Speakers Association. You may have to change your style, get a stylist. What were some of the things that you had to incorporate into yourself so that you could be this person that you were aiming to build and become?
My story. I tell everybody, I'm actually working with a client now, and she's phenomenal. Her story is amazing. And she wants to, do speaking full time. And she's all right with speaking. She has a little bit of trouble, but she's phenomenal. So one of the first things I asked her is, what is your story? And I got a pause, and I said, what is your story? So tell me how it all started. Tell me how you got into wanting to speak. So she told me this story, how, she had a stroke, and I think it was in her late 30s, but everything up until that point, she lost her memory. So she had to completely have a redo of her life. Like, her story is phenomenal. And she battled through adversities, and now she wants to tell her story and encourage people that, just because certain circumstances happen in your life, it's not over. She lives a very good life now. She's positive. Her story is just phenomenal. Nobody can tell it like her. So I said, this is your story. I said, if we can craft your story in a way where you can speak this way and get your message and your passion and your emotion out, every single time you tell this story, you are going to be comfortable speaking. This is what people don't realize. A lot of discomfort from speaking is because they don't have a firm grasp on their story. That's what I tell everybody. Toastmasters is awesome. They teach you some very good etiquette, but they cannot teach you emotion.
No.
Toastmasters cannot teach you emotion. Toastmasters cannot teach you passion. They can teach you dynamics of speaking. They cannot teach you the emotion of speaking from the heart. They can't teach you that. That cannot be taught. Experience teaches that, not Toastmasters. So when you know your story, for example, for myself, I know my story. I live it. I look back and I can still experience my story. If I think hard enough, I can go back to some of those same emotions. That's why I'm still passionate. So when I'm talking or I'm doing the podcast, oftentimes I tell people I don't have any set questions for you. Just get me on the radio or get me on the podcast and ask me whatever you want to ask me. And then we'll just go from there.
Right? You
sometimes
I'm sorry. You and I are very similar. And here's one thing that I speak with people about, and I tell them this, and they have an aha moment. And I say, I am not represented in your diaspora. And people look at me and they're like, what do you mean? I was like, you don't see me on TV. You don't see me in ads. As a matter of fact, I don't even exist. I have to be one thing or the other because of the color of my skin, and I'm a male. I don't exist the way I am in the diaspora. And it's really funny because, people see you as an other. Because if you carry yourself a certain way, then it kind of throws them for a loop. How have you experienced, being in the ecology of America?
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you asked that. You are literally asking all the right questions. I often tell people one of the most liberating and freeing experiences is when you get to the point where you care nothing about what other people say or think. And my philosophy now is I know there's people that I can help. Not everybody's going to like me. Some people are going to love me. Some people are just going to be, whatever. Some people are going to judge me based on the color of my skin. Some people, it's just not going to matter. So knowing that, I stay true to my mission to inspire and show 100 million people how to take control of their life, find their passion, and unlock the greatness that is within. That's what Miyoko focuses on.
Good.
And that's it.
Good.
Everything else that happens around me is just going to happen. We live in a world where there are some amazing people, and there are some people that are not so nice. There's people that are judgmental. There's people that will judge you for the color of your skin, judge you for your income status, for where you live, how you think. This is just the world that we live in. So I can't be bothered with those particular types of opinions of people when you have a mission and a vision. You can't.
All right, I'm going to ask you this question.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to ask you this question because I try to keep them relatively short because of a drive time podcast. What are your top 5 books?
My top 5 books. That's a good question.
I got this from Combat Jack.
Book number 1?
Because he asked about top 5.
Book number 1.
Go ahead.
Book number 1 is the Bible. Book number 1.
I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, book number 1 is the Bible. Nothing is ever going to compare to that. Book number 2, I like Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't read that book, it is a very good book. Also, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I like that book. What is another book that I often refer back to? Goals by Brian Tracy is a very good book. And Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy is a very good book. I'm a big fan of Brian Tracy because when I was going through certain situations in my life, the period that I discussed, I think when it came to goal setting and Eat That Frog, the whole concept of Eat That Frog is do the big things first. You know, those big things that are going to propel you to a certain level of success. Those are the ones that, the undesirable things that most people shy away from. Those are the things that you should do first. So that's why it's called Eat That Frog. It's ugly, doesn't look good, doesn't feel pretty, but it's going to give you the most results.
Yeah.
And there's another book called The Quantum Leap. And I think it is by, oh my goodness, I think his name is James Pruitt. I know his last name is Pruitt, but he has the Quantum Leap. I think it's called U Squared. And it's like a U2. Yeah, it's YOU2, and he has 1, 2. And those books are all about taking quantum leaps. So his theory is that if you make a certain decision in the direction that's going to take you and propel you to a higher level of success, that will get you to your destination faster than doing some of these smaller steps. So it's a very, very good concept, very, very good book. Those are the books that I actually refer back to. I just can't remember the author's first and last name.
Is it a female or is it a male?
Good book. It's a male. I think it's James Pruitt. I know his last name is Pruitt, but if you look up Quantum Leap, for everybody listening, if you look up the Quantum Leap book, it'll come up. It'll probably be YOU, and then U2, YOU for U Squared. And the whole philosophy of the book is he's trying to teach you how to not take 20 steps to get to your goal, but to take this one decision that's going to get you past those 20 steps. It's going to give you a quantum leap, not the small leaps. There are certain things in life that you can do that gives you a quantum leap. You know, example, sending emails to different podcasters or different people if you want to be in the media. That can be a quantum leap because that can lead to a big break. I mean, actors have done it all the time. Entertainers have done it all the time. You know, that CD that goes to the record executive's office and he happens to hear it. You know, and they've only been selling their CDs for 2 weeks on the street.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, they're on television.
Yep.
You know, that's an example of a quantum leap. That's a good example. It's just that big break in progress where it just jumps you to somewhere that it may have taken 3 years or 2 years to get to. That particular decision jumps you that many steps ahead.
Hey, have you ever...
yeah, I'm a firm believer in quantum leaps.
Have you ever said to anyone, hey, I'm on this podcast, I think it'll be great for you to listen, and their response is, what's a podcast?
Yes. Yes.
That just gets me.
I'm not going to say sadly, but yes. There are some people that are not familiar with what podcasts are.
Which is bizarre.
They understand radio, television. They do not understand podcasts. They don't know what a podcast is. But based on the internet world, I mean, podcast is a very common term. I mean, if you're on the internet, you should definitely know what a podcast is.
True.
If you know what iTunes are, you should definitely know what a podcast is.
A lot of people don't even know what that section is.
Yeah, that's true.
So we're going to have to close this out. Any words of advice, tips, things from the ether of yours that you would like to leave the Billionaire Lifestyle audience with?
Absolutely. 1, be authentic. Always be yourself. We read these motivational books and look up to these people that are successful in their industries. Take the information from them, apply it to yourself, use what you can, but don't try to be these people. Don't try to measure your success on how successful they become. If Richard Branson is worth, $500 million, you can't say you're a failure if you've only made 200,000, or 100,000. Measure success on by the things you really want. Take what those guys say, apply the knowledge, apply the information, and then utilize it to fit your own individuality of who you are. Never lose who you are. Always be authentic. That's number 1. Number 2, always be a student of learning. Never get to a point, regardless of how successful you become, where you don't learn. I mean, I'm experiencing a level of success that I never imagined, but at the same time, I'm still learning. I am never too afraid to learn. I'm actually taking some continued education for the things that I'm doing. So always be a student. Always be a student. 3, don't worry about what other people think. People are always going to say negative things. Sometimes you are not going to get the support from your family when you're pursuing your goals. Stay true to your vision. It is not their vision. It is not your friend's vision. It is not your wife's vision. It is nobody's vision but your vision. Only you can see it. So stay true to your vision. It is your vision. It is not theirs. And they will come around when they see the progress. But you have to stay true you have to stay true to your vision. You have to believe in your vision. That's first and foremost. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we can talk on this podcast forever. There's so many different things.
Yeah, there is.
But I will just leave you with that. The book, Find Your Amazing 5 Steps to Transforming Your Life, will actually be launching April the 7th. The listeners, they can always find me on Twitter or Instagram, Miyoko Taylor. It's just M-E-I, that's M as in Mary, E-I-Y-O-K-O. Last name is Taylor. On Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can find me under the same name, and they can visit me on the web at www.miyokotaylor.com.
Do you have any speaking events coming up that someone could attend?
Not right now. I'm really more focused on the media as far as podcasts, radio shows, but I will definitely keep everyone informed and abreast and yourself abreast of these next upcoming events. But my goal is to actually get on the road and start doing speaking engagements. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
Good deal. Let me ask you this last question. Are you working with any youth?
It's funny you asked that. Yes, I do work with youth. I've done, I have a background in financial services, so I've done financial literacy camps for youth. I've done personal development for youth. There's some things I'm about to get into with the Urban League of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in reference to the youth. So to answer your question, yes, I do actively work with youth.
Okay, good deal. Well, this has been an awesome interview, sir. Do not be a stranger. When your life changes, you let me know, because we will put it right out there.
I appreciate you for having me. You're awesome. Continue to be great, to do great, and to inspire the lives of many.
All right, here's what I leave everybody with. Typically, I haven't done it in a little while in a couple of podcasts, but let's go through it. Tomorrow morning, you're going to get up out of bed. You're going to have that sleepy dust in your eyes. You're going to walk into the bathroom. You're going to take a shower, and then you're going to have to look in the mirror. You're going to see these 2 eyes that are staring back at you, and they are your eyes. They are a 1 in a quadrillion miracle. Do not let the world judge thee, because you are interpreting the information that you see. You can make the world whatever you want. God gave us free will, so use your free will for your good. You are a miracle. You are loved. You may not even know it, but somebody loves you. They may not have just told you because they think so highly of you. I want you to remember that. When you feel low, come back here, because I'm going to tell it to you again. You're worth more than your weight in the planetary system. There's not even enough gold to measure your wealth. Now, what I want you to do is take that information, let it sink in, thank God, thank whoever your God is that you think created you, and go live the billionaire lifestyle. Mr. Taylor, nice having you, brother.
Pleasure's all mine.
All right, people, till next time, peace.